Greetings, this is Jim Lindsay. This is a very short addendum to the Day 2 lecture. In that lesson, I meant to include some examples of deregulation, one to explain it and two to give some examples of it. And I apologize for omitting that, but here it is. Deregulation is when you have a regulated industry. We've already talked about those in detail. But when you have a regulated industry and then you start to strip away or take away some of those rules and requirements, perhaps price caps or other things that have been, been enforced on those. And so you start to take away those different restrictions and then let the market go ahead and start to, the free economy go ahead and take over and start to dictate what happens within that industry. That's what deregulation is. You can't deregulate artificial intelligence because it's never been regulated. It's new, it's brand new. And so the question that I'm asking you guys to look at is, should we as a society ask our authority, the entities which basically are in charge of things, to implement regulation on those technologies? That's what I'm asking you guys to think about. Especially for the no speakers on this issue, I wanted to give you examples where there has been at times like really heavy regulation on certain industries, and that has been stripped away, and then what has happened to the industry as a result of that. And in some of those cases the results have been very positive, and in some of those cases those results have been negative. And so that's where I wanted to provide you with some more information, because again, if you're on that no side, you definitely want more ammo to help bolster your arguments, right? And so here are some examples of positive, negative results from deregulation. Okay, so this first link, and if you look at the Blackboard page, you've got this link to the lesson that you're listening to. Beneath it are these links right here, these three guys, and they will take you to the 3 pages I'm about to show you. The first is this one right here, where it talks about what is deregulation, and we've already talked about that. So let me jump over to 2 examples of industries that have been deregulated. This first comes from a PBS article, and I'm a big fan of the public broadcasting system. I feel like they're very impartial. If you want to look for a fair, impartial news source, they tend to be that. They tend to give news without a ton of opinion in there. And so I really like these guys. And so as you look at this story, it starts to talk about the deregulation of the power industry. And so this is one example. The second story, or the second example, is a government accounting office report about the deregulation of the airline industry. And this one comes from June 2006. This was done during the Bush administration's, during George W. Bush's tenure as president. The Government Accounting Office did this analysis of the airline industry after it had been deregulated back in about 1976 or 78, while Jimmy Carter was president. And then after Carter, you had Reagan and Bush and the resulting presidents that went through there. So there was it happened during a Democratic president's tenure, and then you had Republican presidents and then Democratic presidents after that. So you saw both sides of the spectrum and their economic policies impacting this industry. But as you go through here, and let's just take a look at this one. I want to keep this very short. Like this first page, take a look at this first page. This is a really good analysis, a very good summary, if you will, of what you're going to find in this report. And essentially what they're saying here is this deregulation has been very positive for the airline industry. It's not been completely positive. There have been some aspects of it. Some of the smaller airlines got squeezed out. Some of the pensions of some of these airlines have basically had catastrophic effects on those, and those people and their pensions are gone. However, overall, the results for the airline industry total has been really good with this deregulation. And we, as you go down here to this summary down here, pretty much it's saying, and we furthermore, we don't think you should re-regulate this industry because we think that for sure those impacts would be negative. And so this is an example of a big industry, an airline industry, which was very heavily regulated, being deregulated, basically regulated less, because there's still some regulation. You still have like the Federal Aviation Administration and other, you just can't do whatever you want to in the airline industry, but there's a lot less regulation with it than there used to be. And so that's one example of that. You can read more about the power industry over here with this one from the PBS story. So that's about as much time as I wanted to take. Thank you for your time and attention, and I look forward to seeing your analysis of this topic.